This past weekend in Seattle, Washington, the 2026 Seattle Pokemon Go Regional Championships were held. This was to be the final regional championship event of the Precious Paths meta, with a pretty significant meta shakeup scheduled just a few days after the event. Over 200 trainers went to Seattle from all corners of the globe, vying for the opportunity to become the Seattle Regional Champion. I was lucky enough to be one of the casters at the event, and what unfolded was possibly one of my favorite grand finals that I've ever seen. However, to set the stage for the grand finals, first, we start in the winners finals. The winners finals feature two of the most experienced competitors in our game, Out of Pocket versus Stone Collection. Out of Pocket's team features Shadow Marowak, Empoleon, Licky, Jellicent, Alolan Ninetales, and Galarian Moltres. Stone Collection has Altaria, Shadow Scizor, Guzzlord, Stunfisk, Corviknight, and Azumarill. An interesting dynamic to this matchup is the fact that it's something that I would call a unique matchup. There are 12 different Pokemon across these two teams of 6. These trainers have 0 Pokemon in common with their opponent. These are also two of the most decorated trainers in our game, with Out of Pocket being a 2-time regional champion, the 2024 North American International Champion, the San Juan Special Event Champion, and as a top 8 at a previous World Championships. For Stone Collection, a decorated player hailing from Germany, the 2022 Last Chance Qualifiers Champion, a Stuttgart Regional Finalist, and coming off a top 16 at the European International Championships that occurred last month. So with two of the most experienced competitors in our game, we knew these series were going to be amazing. And in game number 1, Pocket picks up an incredibly good lead, leading the Alolan Ninetales into Corviknight. Corviknight does have a pacing advantage, but Air Cutter is not a particularly hard-hitting attack. That means for Stone Collection, unless Air Cutter starts getting boosts, Corviknight is going to get absolutely destroyed in this matchup. Stone Collection is running a team that is ABA weak to the Alolan Ninetales. Guzzlord in the back has a terrible matchup into the Ninetales, and the Scizor has a very strong one. Pocket knows this second Air Cutter will not take the knockout, but it could potentially put him into 1 Bullet Punch range for the Scizor. Stone goes for it, in comes Scizor, Pocket saves the move but brings in Empoleon, and this is going to set up Stone Collection perfectly for the endgame. By baiting out the Empoleon, this has freed up Stone Collection's Guzzlord, and his Guzzlord will absolutely destroy Pocket's final Pokemon in Jellicent. Hard pivoting a Shadow Scizor is a bit of a risk into a lot of teams, but Out of Pocket does not necessarily have a hard answer to a Scizor up energy. Empoleon does have a winning matchup here, but Scizor is still able to get it very low. Night Slash will be shielded up by the Empoleon looking to overfarm and fire off yet another Hydro. Stone Collection double shielding the Scizor, he is full committing to this matchup. Pocket still has the energy loaded on the Alolan Ninetales, and that could be his only saving grace, is if that Ninetales energy is going to be enough to get some big damage onto the Guzzlord. Scizor does not go for the catch, instead just going to get knocked out by the Hydro Cannon, but this could set up a pretty big farm down for the Corviknight, and that could be a problem. In comes the Corviknight looking for farm. Pocket goes for the combination play as he brings in the Ninetales. Pocket needs this Weather Ball to secure the knockout. Weather Ball onto the Corviknight lands. Corviknight is simply too bulky, making it to the Air Cutter, and that is going to be a Game 1 win for Stone Collection. Pocket doesn't know it yet, but his Jellicent is about to get completely walled by the Guzzlord. Pocket shakes his head as he knows there is just no way out. Guzzlord into the Jellicent is such a dominant matchup. Pocket won the lead in this matchup. He was in a pretty good spot, but Stone Collection playing aggressive, getting damage on that Ninetales, baiting out the Empoleon, set up the Guzzlord so perfectly. Out of Pocket knows there's just no path forward in this game. Empoleon cannot make a charge attack, and Guzzlord will knock out Jellicent with a brutal swing, and Stone Collection wins game number 1 of the winners finals. The battlers lock in for game number 2, and again it's a very nice lead for Pocket as Empoleon finds its target in the Shadow Scizor. Now this matchup is very favorable for the Empoleon because unless Shadow Scizor boosts on the first Night Slash, it is unable to farm down in the 2 shield. The Pocket will always no shield, hoping that it does not get the boost, and thankfully Scizor does not. Pocket will go for the Drill Peck. This is covering for a potential catch. He is worried that the Scizor will switch out of the matchup, but it appears Stone feels very comfortable staying in the matchup and instead just spamming out Night Slashes. Stone Collection clearly in game number 2 wanted to try and run as strong to the Ninetales as he possibly could. So he brought Shadow Scizor and Azumarill, his 2 best answers. But Pocket benched the Ninetales, and that means Pocket is at a pretty big advantage. Stone Collection will win charge attack priority, so Pocket opts out, making a fantastic catch of the Night Slash onto the shiny Galarian Moltres. This Night Slash will barely do any damage. Stone Collection stays in. The Sucker Punches are shredding the Scizor, but Scizor has just enough HP. Stone Collection able to bank a Night Slash for later and send in Azumarill. Pocket has such a big energy head start on the Moltres. Moltres is going to be full send of the Brave Bird. Brave Bird, big damage onto Azumarill. Azumarill goes for the Ice Beam, because if it tried to farm down, Pocket could have made another charge attack. But this should set up Pocket nicely. He has the Hydro Cannon loaded on the Empoleon, but now it's time to send in Lickilicky. Lickilicky can't quite knock out with a Shadow Ball, so Pocket's not going to throw it just yet. Instead, Pocket is going to look to overfarm and get enough rollout damage to the point where he can actually take the knockout. Ice Beam not going to do much. Pocket farms up just shy of 100 energy, but he's actually not going to go for the knockout. Instead, he goes for an undercharge. He wants even more farm. Stone denies the undercharge and pivots into the Corviknight, but this is all according to plan for Pocket. That undercharge was to try and bait Stone Collection into pivoting out, and now the Corviknight is switch locked. That is a pretty big swing for Out of Pocket. He's now Out of Pocket can land the Shadow Ball into the Body Slam, and then go for the combo play with the Hydro Cannon on Empoleon. So the trap has worked. Stone Collection hard locked that Corviknight. Hydro Cannon lands. Corviknight hangs on 1 HP, but Pocket should still be in a completely winning position. Air Cutter lands, down goes Empoleon, Corviknight gets the boost, but the damage is done. Stone Collection has no health on any of his remaining Pokemon. Shadow Scizor had a move, but Pocket had a shield. Lickilicky makes the Body Slam, and Pocket gets the equalizer. You do not want to go down 2 games to 0 in a best of 5, so this is a massive win for Out of Pocket. Battlers get set for game number 3, and it's bad news for Pocket. He brings back the Ninetales, but it leads into Shadow Scizor. Safe switch Lickilicky. Shadow Scizor gonna stay on the field and fire off the Night Slash. No shield comes out from Pocket, and that does a lot of damage. In comes Stunfisk. Pocket undertapped. He wanted to try and predict that Stone Collection would throw 1 Bullet Punch and switch, but Stone just switched immediately, and he's able to absorb that damage onto the Stunfisk. If there's any hope for Pocket in this game, it would be in a massive farm for Alolan Ninetales. Once the Stunfisk is able to knock out the Lickilicky, if Ninetales is able to get a huge energy head start, then even a resisted Dazzling Gleam could actually apply a lot of pressure onto that Shadow Scizor. Mud Bomb from the Stunfisk will take the knockout. In comes the Alolan Ninetales, and Stone Collection will fire off the Mud Bomb right away. Mud Bomb not going to do a ton of damage, but Stone Collection makes a brilliant play. He aggressively pivots into the Scizor. Scizor's up enough energy that he actually gets the Trailblaze before the Hydro Cannon. This is very bad. Pocket shaking his head as he knows that if Scizor has enough residual energy to make a Trailblaze before the Hydro Cannon, then Scizor just strictly wins this matchup. That's because by getting the boost up, Stone Collection can now Bullet Punch it into a range where Night Slash will knock out. Out of Pocket, forced to burn the final Protect Shield, but he knows he is in trouble. There is just no way to stop this Shadow Scizor. Stone Collection aggressively pivoting the Shadow Scizor back onto the field was the difference maker in this game. If Pocket was able to get a huge farm down with the Ninetales, things could have played out very differently, but instead, Pocket is forced to save the Empoleon and catch a Night Slash onto the Alolan Ninetales, but Alolan Ninetales is about to get absolutely shredded by Bullet Punches. This Shadow Scizor is just absolutely relentless, taking knockout after knockout. Stone sends in the Stunfisk to absorb the Hydro Cannon. He will have to show his final Pokemon, and it is going to be that Corviknight. This game could have played out very differently if Stone Collection did not play so aggressively, even with a favorable lead. Pocket had a way back in the game, but Stone Collection, by throwing the Mud Bomb immediately and then hard pivoting into the Shadow Scizor, just put himself in a spot that Pocket just had no counterplay. The battlers lock in for game number 4, and Ninetales this time finds its target leading into Stunfisk. Stone safe switches the Shadow Scizor, answered with Empoleon, but a massive difference between last game and this is that Scizor is not up enough energy to make the Trailblaze before the first Hydro Cannon. That means Scizor is forced to settle for Night Slashes, and without getting that Night Slash boost in the first one, now Out of Pocket will be able to maintain switch advantage. Hydro Cannon shielded up by the Shadow Scizor. Stone Collection does have the Azumarill in the back, so he's very clearly trying to bait out the Empoleon to set up the Azumarill to sweep, but Out of Pocket has brought back that Lickilicky. Lickilicky is just incredibly neutrally strong into Stone Collection's team. It doesn't really beat a lot neutrally, but what it does is it doesn't really have any hard losses. And if you don't have any hard losses, then you can provide a lot of value on a line of 3. Shadow Scizor will force the final Protect Shield Out of Pocket. Pocket gonna overfarm, try to get himself a lot lower before he will secure the knockout onto the Shadow Scizor. This will set up a little bit of a farm down for the Stunfisk, but Stunfisk energy does not go particularly far into the Ninetales. Empoleon fainted as it got to the Hydro Cannon. That's a bit unfortunate for Pocket, but it's still looking very, very favorable for him. Mud Bomb is going to land onto the Ninetales. Stone is going to be safe switching into the Azumarill, and that's going to be answered with Lickilicky. In the zero shield scenario, Azumarill is favored here. However, Lickilicky's job is just to soft lose this matchup. The star of the show is going to be that Alolan Ninetales. Play Rough from the Azumarill is going to connect. Pocket farms up 7 rollouts and fires off the Shadow Ball. If you throw 8 rollouts, you end up going over 100 energy, and then you end up wasting some energy. So Pocket is ensuring that his energy is always going to be counted. To farm up even more, fire off a second Shadow Ball. No Protect Shields remaining for Stone Collection. That means this damage is guaranteed to land, but Azumarill may be able to secure the knockout with Play Rough. It's going to be very, very close. Lickilicky is very bulky. Play Rough lands. Lickilicky, 1 HP remaining, barely able to hang on. Gets the body slam, but Stone Collection catches onto the Stunfisk. Out of Pocket, now going to be pivoting back into the Ninetales. Ninetales going to be going for the charge attack priority time. Weather Ball to that Mud Bomb. Weather Ball will hit for super effective damage, but Stunfisk is very bulky. Stunfisk is able to hang on. Pocket knows that even though the Ninetales is now below half HP, Mud Bomb will not secure the KO. Mud Bomb lands. Ninetales is going to get a full farm down of that Stunfisk and should be able to survive the bubble. It's going to be close, but he does survive the bubble. Alolan Ninetales hangs on, making the Dazzling Gleam, knocking out the Azumarill, and we're going to a winner-take-all game number 5 in these winners finals. The battlers lock in, and it's a disastrous lead for Pocket, leading the shiny Galarian Moltres into Stunfisk. Pocket ran ABA weak to the Stunfisk. The Stunfisk is here, and this is a very big problem. Pocket's going to be no shielding. Discharge lands, big damage onto the Moltres, and Pocket safe switches into the Marowak. Marowak answered with Azumarill. This is not a particularly comfortable matchup for the Marowak. Marowak can win the 2-shield, but does Pocket really want to invest all shields in a Marowak when he's going to lose so much HP purely off of the bubbles? Stone Collection fires off the Ice Beam right away, and Pocket is just going to be fully sacrificing this because he has other ideas. What Pocket wants to do is Pocket actually wants to go for a massive farm on the Empoleon. Azumarill is a bit of a sitting duck in that matchup. Azumarill's bulk means that it can survive a ton of Drill Pecks, but in a scenario like this could be the opening that Pocket needs. Stone is trying to pivot out and send in the Stunfisk, but the Empoleon is so far ahead on energy. Empoleon will get to spam out Hydro after Hydro. Stone Collection puts up the shield, and Out of Pocket still has energy loaded on the Galarian Moltres as well. Hydro Cannon number 2 from the Empoleon. Stone Collection, he's going to be double shielding. This Empoleon energy is a very big problem. Empoleon more than happy to shield back, but suddenly, despite the catastrophic lead, Pocket's plan to bait out the Azumarill and get farm with the Empoleon is paying dividends. Stone Collection goes for a discharge. He's covering for a potential catch onto the Moltres, but Pocket's just going to stay on the field. Switch timer is up for Stone Collection. Will we see the catch? Stone Collection does not get the catch, and now he's getting knocked out by the Hydro Cannon. Stone Collection has a shields down Shadow Scizor, and that's not where it wants to be. Empoleon is up energy, and it's going to get to land a Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon will not knock out, however, and that sets up a 50-50 to end this game. Can Pocket snipe with the Sucker Punch on the Galarian Moltres? He goes for it, but Stone Collection reads it. Simultaneous switch, sniping with the Ice Beam, and that leaves Pocket shaking his head. Ice Beam knocks out the Galarian Moltres. Empoleon gets the farm down, but does not get the energy it needs. Shadow Scizor makes the Night Slash, and by the narrowest of margins, Stone Collection is going to advance 3-2. He's on to the Grand Finals. And the Grand Finals matchup would be a rematch of the Winners Finals, as Pocket took down Dunebug 3-1. Pocket comes out of the loser side of the bracket, which means he needs to win 2 best-of-5s here to be crowned champion. Stone only needs 1. A good lead for Pocket in game number 1 of the Grand Finals, leading Jellicent into Altaria. Jellicent has an ever so slight pacing advantage over the Altaria, and that's what makes this a winning lead matchup. In the back, Out of Pocket does have the Shadow Marowak, which is very happy to avoid the Altaria, but if it ends up getting aligned onto the Azumarill, then things could get tricky. Jellicent will fire off the Shadow Ball, no shield from Stone Collection. Stone Collection knows that he is always going to be on the defensive in this matchup as he tries to reach a Sky Attack, but right before it's available, Jellicent makes Shadow Ball number 2. Stone Collection just going to be fully sacrificing the Altaria because he wants to try and set up the Shadow Scizor. In comes Shadow Scizor. Will Scizor go for a 1-shield farm down or go for the CMP tie? It will go for the CMP tie, firing off the Night Slash, and Pocket is going to be letting this go because if he shields, he's going to get farmed down. Shadow Scizor does not get the Night Slash boots, which is very helpful for Pocket, and Pocket sends in the Marowak. He is reading that the Empoleon will have value in the back. Marowak going to be no shield in the Night Slash as well. He's putting it all on Empoleon. Stone Collection gets the boost, and that forces a switch out from Pocket. That boost is very unfortunate as suddenly these bullet punches are hitting incredibly hard even onto the double resisted Empoleon. Night Slash gets the shield, there's the pivot, in comes Azumarill. This is a very bad matchup for Azumarill, typically due to typing. However, Azumarill can survive 3 Drill Pecks, so being up a shield, Azumarill has quite a bit of play. Even though Pocket is down a shield, Pocket did bank a Bone Club on the Marowak before switching out, and that means that Empoleon feels a lot more confident about this endgame as long as the Bone Club does not end up getting caught. Play Rough will be shielded. Pocket now down 2 shields to 0. Stone Collection's gonna have to start shielding something, so he will invest at least 1 Protect Shield into that Azumarill. Azumarill so low on energy, it will be able to make a second Play Rough, but its bubbles have not put the Empoleon into Play Rough range. The Empoleon will be low, but simply not low enough. Stone Collection is going to let that go. Pocket very close to another Drill Peck. Will get there, and now it's a 50-50 for Stone Collection. Will Out of Pocket go for the combination play and snipe with the Bone Club, or will he stay on the field? Stone Collection, he switches into Scizor trying to read the snipe attempt, but Pocket does not go for it. Pocket lives with the Drill Peck, and that's going to be a Game 1 win for Out of Pocket. Drill Peck lands, taking down Azumarill, and Pocket gets Game 1 of the Grand Finals. Another good lead for Pocket in Game number 2, Shadow Marowak into Shadow Scizor. In a previous lead matchup of this exact scenario, Stone Collection ended up doing 1 Bullet Punch and then catching onto Corviknight. Pocket was watching that game from the crowd, and he knows that's a play Stone likes to go for. So he overfarms, but Stone didn't go for it this time. There's no Corviknight in the back, and Pocket is forced to bank the energy and catch the Night Slash onto Lickilicky. Lickilicky is going to be answered with Stunfisk, and this is a very good bait out for Out of Pocket. By baiting out the Stunfisk, this sets up Empoleon to be very strong in the back. Stone Collection again running ABA strong into the Alolan Ninetales, but the Alolan Ninetales is nowhere to be found. Lickilicky will try and connect with its harder hitting Shadow Ball. No shield comes out from Stone Collection. There's so much energy available for Pocket on the Marowak as well. Lickilicky gonna farm up, trying to make the Shadow Ball, but not quite able to get there before Stunfisk is able to make the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb will get the Lickilicky very low. Lickilicky survives on 1 HP. In comes the Marowak as it fires off the Bone Club. Bone Club is going to be shielded up by the Stunfisk. Switch timer should be up for Stone Collection. Stone Collection sends in Azumarill. Pocket now has to decide, can he make the back-to-back Bone Clubs? He realizes he will fall to the Bubble Fast Move pressure, so he goes for the slightly harder hitting Rock Slide. Rock Slide lands onto Azumarill. Azumarill gets the bubble down, but by switch locking the Azumarill, Stone Collection has now allowed the Empoleon to set up. Empoleon is just going to look to absorb energy and farm up as much energy as it possibly can. There's energy loaded on the Lickilicky as well for Out of Pocket, so Empoleon can farm up a ton of energy and get a catch, wasting the energy on the Lickilicky, but it's for a good cause as Azumarill's Play Rough does not land on its intended target. Back in comes the Empoleon, 1 Metal Sound and the Drill Peck. Drill Peck will not quite be enough to knock out the Azumarill, but it will get the Azumarill deep into the red. Drill Peck lands. There's the switch out into the Stunfisk. Stunfisk tries to make the double Mud Bomb, but cannot get there, and that is going to be a Game 2 win for Out of Pocket. Stunfisk so close to the double up. It gets there, but loses charge attack priority, and Stone Collection nods, as he knows even with all that Stunfisk energy banked, it was not enough. The Empoleon was too strong. Scizor falls to the Metal Sound pressure. Azumarill falls to the Metal Sounds as well, and Pocket fighting his way back, now up 2 games to 0 in the Grand Finals. Battlers get set for game number 3, and it's a very familiar lead matchup, Empoleon into Shadow Scizor. For Pocket, Pocket is chosen to bring the Alolan Ninetales in the back, so seeing the Scizor on the lead is very, very good. As long as Scizor does not get this Night Slash boost on the first one, which it does not, Empoleon will always be able to dictate switch advantage. If Stone Collection doesn't want to lose the Scizor in the 2 shield, Stone is going to have to catch out, and by giving up switch advantage, that would set up Pocket with favorable alignment. Pocket fires off the Hydro Cannon instantly, going to be losing charge attack priority, but just wanting to trap the Scizor on the field, as if it's a CMP tie, then Scizor will be unable to catch. Hydro Cannon shielded up, Stone Collection looking to play this to the 2s as he so frequently does. Does Pocket go for a charge attack priority tie again, or does he overfarm watching for a catch? Pocket is going to farm up. He overfarms expecting a catch, but no catch comes out from Stone Collection. So Empoleon now going to exit with a little bit of extra energy. Night Slash is shielded, under tapping the Hydro Cannon, and that's going to be the end of Shadow Scizor. What does Stone Collection look to try and get some farm on? Does he go Azumarill? He does go Azumarill. Azumarill is going to get a very big bubble down. But for Out of Pocket, he now knows that the Alolan Ninetales is guaranteed strong in the back, because he's already seen the Scizor and he's seen the Azumarill. That means he is always going to bring in Lickilicky here. This guarantees the Alolan Ninetales will be in a winning matchup in the endgame. There's a catch attempt onto Guzzlord, and Guzzlord will be answered with that Alolan Ninetales. Even though Guzzlord has a super effective coverage move, it's just simply too little, too late for the Guzzlord. Alolan Ninetales is too bulky, shrugging off the damage, and Pocket can now look to overfarm to the max, throwing 4 Powder Snows at the Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to be clearing Guzzlord from the field, but not if Pocket undercharges. He undercharges, leaving the Guzzlord at 1 HP so he can exit with the Dazzling Gleam loaded to win charge attack priority over that Azumarill. Azumarill goes for the bubble as Stone Collection knows that he is not going to win that charge attack priority tie. There's energy on the Lickilicky as well, and there is the snipe combo play from Pocket. Brilliantly played game from Pocket. Shadow Ball lands onto the Azumarill. Azumarill survives just to get rollouted down. Pocket comes storming back to sweep the series 3-0 and force a grand finals reset. The lead is a very familiar one in game number 1, Empoleon into Shadow Scizor. Empoleon going to be firing off the Hydro Cannon immediately, going for the CMP tie on that Scizor Night Slash. Scizor Night Slash lands, does not get the boost, so Pocket will be able to maintain switch advantage for this game. For Stone Collection, he's again trying to run as strong as possible into that Alolan Ninetales, as he has the Shadow Scizor plus Azumarill core, and that's part of what makes that Empoleon so safe for Out of Pocket. Out of Pocket will look to overfarm, expecting a catch, but no catch comes through from Stone Collection. Instead, Pocket will fire off the Hydro Cannon, Stone will double shield, and as always, Stone investing so heavily into that Glassymon, and he has a lot of bulk in the back. Pocket this time does not go for the overfarm, instead playing to the CMP tie. That's going to be the end of Shadow Scizor, but Stone Collection has made a Pokemon adjustment. Stone Collection has not brought the Guzzlord. The Guzzlord has been benched in favor of Corviknight, and Stone is about to deploy it here. In comes Corviknight. Corviknight is going to get a massive sand attack down. Pocket cannot afford to bring in the Marowak, so he's forced to send in Lickilicky. But this is all according to plan for Stone Collection, because now the Marowak is completely trapped. There's nowhere for it to go in the back. Lickilicky is so far behind on energy. Corviknight connects with the payback, and that damage is devastating. Lickilicky makes the Shadow Ball, but before it can get a second Shadow Ball, it's going to get outpaced. This Corviknight is a very big problem. The energy advantage is just completely overwhelming, outpacing, making the payback. This is going to be knocking out the Lickilicky. Pocket has to hope that Marowak can sweep, but the moment Stone sees the Marowak, in comes Azumarill, and Pocket knows this game is over. Marowak cannot win the Zero Protect Shield scenario, but Pocket is just not even going to throw his energy. Pocket's going to be taking notes, focusing on how to bounce back in this game number 2. But this feels like a big bounce back win for Stone Collection after getting swept in the first best of 5. Very neutral lead matchup in this game number 2, as it's going to be the Shadow Marowak into the Guzzlord. Guzzlord does have the pacing advantage, but Marowak is able to output significantly more fast move pressure. Brutal Swing from the Guzzlord is going to land onto the Marowak. Pocket farms up to the back-to-back and gets the catch onto Lickilicky. Lickilicky is a very effective damage sponge. The Marowak has so much energy stored. Stone Collection is going to look to re-bank a charge attack before pivoting into Azumarill. Now, the entire line that Stone Collection has run is very, very soft to Empoleon, and that's something that Pocket can try and use as he desperately fights for the equalizer. Shadow Ball from the Lickilicky will land onto the Azumarill. Even a second Shadow Ball will not force this Azumarill to protect shield whatsoever. But a big advantage Pocket has is the desync in switch timers. Pocket would love nothing more than to be able to pivot out into the Empoleon. Switch timer comes up, and that's going to force a Play Rough from the Azumarill as Stone Collection needs to get back to his timer. Play Rough, not going to do a lot to the Empoleon. Switch timer should be available soon for Stone Collection, but it doesn't come up in time, and that forces a second Play Rough. Pocket, more than happy to absorb all of this Azumarill energy, quick pivot into the Guzzlord, but before he can fire off the Brutal Swing, there's Empoleon already locked and loaded with the Drill Peck. Pocket goes for an undercharge. He actually doesn't want to take the knockout, but Stone did end up putting up the shield. Brutal Swing will be securing the knockout onto Empoleon, so Pocket forced the shield back and then fire off the Drill Peck. There is so much energy still stored on that Marowak. Stone Collection going to be double shielding. Does Pocket potentially try and go for a snipe here or a catch back onto the Licky, and he gets another catch. He saves the Empoleon, and once again, Licky absorbs Brutal Swing. That is 2 Brutal Swings this game that has been caught. Pocket goes for the Shadow Ball, covering for a catch, but Stone Collection does not go for one. Instead, just going to let the Guzzlord get knocked out and send in the Shadow Scizor. Shadow Scizor gets a big farm down, but there's still so much energy loaded on this Marowak. In comes the Marowak, firing off the Rock Slide. The Rock Slide does do more damage than a Bone Club. No Protect Shields remaining. Shadow Scizor gets absolutely rocked. Shadow Scizor does make the Night Slash. And now Pocket has to decide, is this the switch into Azumarill? If it is, he needs to Koopa switch into Empoleon, and it is. Empoleon answering the Azumarill. Azumarill just does not have the energy needed. It had to fire all of its energy earlier on. Empoleon makes the Drill Peck. That's going to be knocking out the Azumarill. Then all that's left is shreds of Scizor. Scizor gets Metal Sounded down. Pocket gets the much-needed equalizer. Battlers get set for game number 3, and it's Stone Collection leading with Stunfisk into the Licky for Out of Pocket. Out of Pocket gonna farm up a ton of energy watching for a catch, but now he's farmed up too much, and this is actually a misplay. Stone Collection has now forced Out of Pocket into throwing on alignment or going over 100 energy. So Pocket is forced to fire off the Shadow Ball on alignment, and that gives a free Thunder Shock over to the Stunfisk. The Zero Shield matchup between these two Pokemon is incredibly close. A very high rank Licky can win the Zeros. The more shields that are in play, the more it will typically favor the Stunfisk. Seeing the Stunfisk on the lead is a very good sign for Pocket because he has the Galarian Moltres in the back. Galarian Moltres really needs to avoid this matchup. Shadow Ball lands onto the Stunfisk. Pocket closing in on that Body Slam but can't quite get there. He's going to get very low as this Mud Bomb lands, and he will look to try and pivot out. In comes Moltres. It's a simultaneous switch. Moltres into the Shadow Scizor. This is what Pocket was hoping for. This is very favorable alignment. Moltres puts up the shield as the Trailblaze is launched by the Shadow Scizor. Can Pocket potentially farm down? It's going to be very close. Shadow Scizor, it looks like Scizor could barely hang on. It was going to be very close. Pocket fires off the fly. Shadow Scizor puts up the shield. Scizor going to get the Night Slash. Pocket, he's going to be letting this go, and he's going to try for farm on the Empoleon. The Shadow Scizor is still switch locked here. He will not have the ability to switch out, but Pocket makes a misplay. He waits the switch timer, and that allows Stone Collection to save the Scizor and send in the Stunfisk. That is a pretty big error from Pocket, as suddenly his Empoleon is down energy to the Stunfisk. He does still have a little bit of energy loaded on that Licky, but he does not have a move banked. Shield comes up from Stone Collection. Stone Collection wants to try and land this Mud Bomb onto the Empoleon. Pocket gonna switch into Licky, trying for the Body Slam. Can't quite get there, as Stunfisk will shut it down with the Mud Bomb. If Pocket wants to win this game, it's Empoleon versus the world. Empoleon gets the Metal Sound down, but Empoleon has lost so much HP from that Stunfisk. In comes Azumarill. This is normally a dominant matchup for the Empoleon, but now the script has been flipped. Empoleon has lost too much HP. Drill Peck lands. Empoleon's going to make 3 Drill Pecks before the Play Rough is reached, and it's just still not going to be enough. Azumarill just feels absolutely unstoppable. Drill Peck after Drill Peck. It just simply will never matter. A 3rd Drill Peck. Azumarill does not care, and Stone Collection is going to be taking control of this series. He makes sure to still fire off this Charge Stack with good timing, getting as much bubble damage as he can. Resistant Play Rough into the Empoleon, takes the knockout, and Stone Collection is 1 win away from the championship. The battlers lock in for game number 4. Shadow Scizor for Stone Collection into the Shadow Marowak for Out of Pocket. This is a good lead for Out of Pocket, as Marowak is able to win the 2 shield by just fully farming down. Last time, Stone Collection did not switch out and forced Pocket to make a catch out of the matchup. Pocket is going to throw, but this time Stone Collection goes for the catch. Oh my goodness. Pocket tried to predict it last time, Stone didn't go for it, and now he doesn't predict it, and Stone gets the catch. Licky gonna be sent into Corviknight. This sets up Empoleon into Azumarill in the endgame. So even though that catch is very unfortunate for Pocket, the Empoleon does look very strong in the back. The Marowak still does have some energy as well. Licky farming up just shy of 100 energy, firing off the Shadow Ball. Stone Collection, he's looking to invest in the Corviknight as he puts up the shield. We've now achieved shield parity. Shadow Ball number 2 from Licky going to be unshielded by Stone Collection. Pocket is very close to a move on the Marowak, but does not have one just yet. block is up for Stone Collection, but he really wants to try and press the advantage. He knows that Nair Cutter will not cut it, so he's going to be full sending Payback. Payback, no shielded, down goes Licky Licky. Stone Collection able to get the knockout. In comes Empoleon. Empoleon trying for a Metal Sound down. This could be a little bit aggressive, but he gets the catch onto the Shadow Marowak. It's Empoleon versus the world. Payback takes down the Marowak. Empoleon gonna be greeted with the Shadow Scizor. Scizor can't quite get the Night Slash. Pocket will fire off energy right before that's available. Stone Collection will put up the shield. Stone Collection is gonna reach for the Trailblaze. He knows he needs as much damage as he possibly can. Even though Bullet Punch is double resisted, all fast move damage will be helpful because his final Mon is once again going to be the Azumarill. Boosted Bullet Punch connects, in comes the Azumarill, and this is going to be a very close game. Empoleon already at double Drill Peck, but we know that even 3 Drill Pecks will not be enough to secure the knockout. First Drill Peck is going to connect. Pocket going to look to overfarm and build up just shy of 2 more Drill Pecks as Stone Collection nears this play rough. Empoleon is still healthy enough. The play rough will not be enough to secure the knockout, but the big problem is there's still the Corviknight. Corviknight's sand attack pressure is going to do too much to the Empoleon. Empoleon's win con is to exit with a Hydro Cannon loaded to be able to take a knockout onto Corviknight and ensure that the sand attacks do not land. This is very, very close to Drill Peck range. Azumarill will hold on, but can it survive the Metal Sounds? It's going to come down to the wire. Empoleon goes for the farm down, but it does not get it. Azumarill makes the play rough, and Stone Collection has done it. He is the 2026 Seattle Pokemon Go Regional Champion. What a performance from Stone Collection, and what a series from 2 of the best trainers in our game. There was a stat that was shown on broadcast that between these 2 trainers, they have 88 tournaments of experience. 2 of the most experienced competitors in the entire circuit. And what a winners finals and grand finals it was. These trainers played a total of 12 games against each other. Stone Collection winning 6 and Out of Pocket winning 6. And that just shows the power of Stone Collection winning when it mattered most in that Game 5 of the winners finals. Getting to a grand finals on the winner side gives you an incredible amount of wiggle room. Even if you lose the first best of 5, your opponent has to win 2 best of 5s. Pocket had 1 sweep in him, but Stone Collection emerges victorious as the final regional champion of the Precious Paths meta. Thank you so much for watching today's video. My name is Home Slice Henry, and this is More Slice Henry, my second channel where I cover content primarily related to the Championship Series. If you enjoy content like this, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. I typically upload once every week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.